Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Lawn Treatments. We've lived in this neighborhood for 15 years now, and the HOA board, like many, is mostly made up of grouchy old people who have too much time on their hands. Sometimes it's fine for a while, and then someone new takes over and has some vendetta to pursue. I guess we were due for the pendulum to swing. Our front yard has a few big trees and is thus entirely in the shade. We've tried to plant grass seed a few times, but there's just not enough sun for grass to thrive, so it's mostly low ground cover. No idea what kind, but it's green and we keep it mowed. For 13 years, this was fine. Then last year, we got a nasty gram from the HOA. We had weeds. According to the bylaws, we'd need to prove we were using chemical lawn treatments to kill anything that's not grass. Crucially, the rules don't require us to hire a weed control company, although that's what they expected. We just had to provide proof in the form of a receipt for money spent. My lovely petty spouse went on Amazon and ordered a $6 spray bottle of the most woo-woo new age homeopathic weed killer she could find. I think the main ingredient was lavender oil. We dutifully spritzed the yard a few times, sent an action shot and a copy of the digital receipt, and thanked them for their concern. The lavender oil, shockingly, did nothing. We didn't actually have to kill the weeds though, just try. We've heard nothing from the HOA since, and the front yard still has almost no grass. The next story is called Don't Send Me Garbage. I work at a non-profit that helps sick people. We provide various services to clients, including supplements. Each client that starts services gets a really nice care package and all the clients rave about them. One day, my coworker took a call from someone that was mad he hadn't received his supplements. My coworker explained the process to receive them, but the client didn't listen, was really rude, then hung up. A day later, I got a call from the same client. He still had not filled out the form to get them. He stated that the care package was garbage and he didn't want our garbage and we need to get him his supplements. He stated that he didn't want the care package and that we should only send him supplements. I decided to bluff. I told him I was sorry that he felt his care package was garbage and that we would be happy to send out a volunteer to take it back. He said no, he would throw it away. I insisted we would take it back. I stated I didn't want him to feel like we were just leaving garbage for him to deal with and we will remove our garbage so he doesn't have to. He said no. I said I will have someone come by later today. He said please don't take it back. I actually really like it. I just really wanted my supplements. He calmed down and listened while I explained to him that he had to fill out the form. Later that week he turned in the form and got his supplements. The last story is called Didn't Tell the Other Boss. This happened quite a while ago. I was working remotely for a staffing agency, organizing and managing events. When I was initially hired, it was due to the fact that 3 employees were quitting. They all seemed to be leaving amicably to pursue other ventures, so I didn't think anything of it. They had hired me and one other person to replace them, and everything was going fine. Over time, I started to notice little things here and there, like issues due to miscommunication between the owners, married couple, and a heavy workload. A few months in, I was assaulted and had been injured pretty badly. It was really difficult, obviously, but I worked remotely, so I was still able to work. I told my bosses I had an emergency and was injured and needed to take time off. Almost immediately, one of the owners called and left an angry sounding voicemail. I called him back and ended up having to tell him I had been assaulted and went to the hospital and all that. He seemed sympathetic, but near the end of the conversation he noted that I was supposed to be managing an event that weekend, Friday to Sunday, and that they had no one else to manage it. He didn't do any of that, but his wife did. However, we always had at least 5 events we were organizing and managing at a time. I was afraid I would get fired, so I ended up having to work that weekend. It wasn't so bad, but I was in an incredible amount of pain. But I worked that weekend and pushed through. Shortly after that, they fired another employee and gave me her workload. Then they chose me to do a very long-running, 2+ months event, taking place in 2 different time zones. They initially decided the event would be split between me and another employee. She was pregnant. due to the size of the program. So while I was dealing with recovery, took 1 month, I was also doing the majority of the workload of this event. I was also having to plan a move, put my stuff in a storage unit and living in a long-term sublet while I looked for a place. I was also organizing other events on top of that, so there were days when I would easily work 10 plus hours. Eventually, the employee who was helping me went on maternity leave, so the whole program landed on my shoulders. One day I got reprimanded for working overtime. I explained that the workload was heavy, and since I was managing events in 2 time zones, I was having to wake up super early in the morning, 4 AM, work during the day, take a long lunch, work some more, then wrap up the other event, which ended in the evening, 10:30 to 11 PM. They basically told me I needed to manage my time better. Well, I was not doing well mentally or physically, so my cognitive abilities weren't the best. I was making small, easily fixable mistakes here and there, but nothing that was damaging or severely detrimental to the business. There were days I would just sit there crying at my desk. It was awful. Another employee had also been reprimanded for working overtime, and she was as swamped as I was. Eventually, one of my bosses emailed me and said I was still working too much overtime, and that he wanted me to work only 5 hours on days when I wasn't managing the big event. I was relieved, honestly. I was looking forward to having more time for myself so I could heal. I made sure to email him back to confirm the non-show management days he wanted me to work 5 hours for the following week. Well, he didn't tell his wife, the other owner, about my new hours, and she had a tendency to ramble about stuff during meetings, making them last way longer than they needed to be. One day we had a meeting in the morning that lasted 3 hours, and it was the first day I was to only work 5 hours. I didn't even need to be in that meeting, but they forced me to stay and would get irritated if they knew me or other employees were quietly working while listening to the meeting. After that meeting, the wife sends me messages asking about the progress of some things I was working on. She then added more things for me to do. The back and forth with her took about 20 minutes. I told her that I knew I wouldn't have enough time to finish those things that day, because I only had a little over an hour and a half to complete the other tasks I had already been assigned. She had no idea what I was talking about, so I told her that her husband had reduced my hours on non-management days. I forwarded her our email exchanges where he confirmed I was only to work 5 hours that day. She got an attitude with me and said, "Well, these are high priority things and we need you to work on them. You can go ahead and work longer today." I told her I couldn't because I had confirmed a week prior and had made arrangements and was not able to work. So once I hit my 5 hours, I clocked out and put my phone on Do Not Disturb, ignoring all the messages she was sending me. She ended up having to work on all the tasks she had given me, late into the night. I continued to follow the new schedule, and they just dumped my workload onto other employees who had to do it themselves. I eventually got fired because they said that was basically the last straw, but I was so relieved and also got unemployment benefits, even though they tried to fight it. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.